third component in the exponential value cycle is value creation. Value creation. Really, it's value demonstration. I mean, that's actually what it is. And what I'm saying here is that you have a fulfillment system. And these are all of the backstage, the back office deliveries that need to support that front stage, because value detection and definition are more of the front stage activities. That's like the singer being out on the stage and you're entertaining the audience. So detection and definition are all those activities that go into locating, prospecting, closing clients. It's marketing and sales. Those are all front stage pieces. That's probably where you express your best work as an entrepreneur. But as you go back into the back office and you get sucked in, your office feels like a snake pit. There's so many details back there that climb onto your attention at the worst of moments. You get more emails than you expected. And I noticed this when I had a guy tell me how his week went. And I asked him what he was doing during the day, and he said, well, his whole day was full of email and paper and stuff. But he had a lunch with a client, and during that lunch there was an exponential opportunity, and it was 1 hour. So 1 hour out of 8 hours made up for about 30 days of opportunity. And I realized that really the entrepreneur who has an office is going to be in big trouble. And we have offices because it's linked to our identity. We have to have an office so we feel like we have a business. A lot of it is like an emotional attachment to our mother. And the office is essentially that mother. We have an umbilical cord that's connected to our mother, and we have a feeding system so we know what's going on and we can maintain some sense of control. Well, that's the fallacy. How about getting rid of your office? Because the paradox is the more we're in control, the less we are able to get results. Really allow your back office to take more autonomy we get, the more results we remove yourself from the back office environment. Don't have an office. Just create a space or create your car in a way where it's a total results machine. You should be a marketing and sales dynamo. So you set up all of the back office support systems to preserve your talent. They understand what the front stage is about in value detection and value definition, and they understand their role in supporting you in doing that. And we have an entrepreneurial time system, so you have certain days where you're getting all of your front stage integrated with your backstage so that when you're on the stage, you're able to focus on singing the song and you're not worrying about mistakes the band's making or things that fall apart suddenly and throw your whole talent out of whack. So, that's another audio. On this audio, we're focusing on value creation, value demonstration. And this is where you can really define a very hyper service model where you can begin to redefine and choreograph a service experience that if you were a client and you would love a wow experience, it would be phenomenal. Now, what is wow? Wow means when or what. You know, you often hear businesses that say, well, we create wow factor. You know, we have a lot of wow factor. People come into our business or they get exposure to our phoning or they get exposure to our work or they look at what we do and they say, boy, these guys really care about something going on around here. This team is really on it. I've never seen anybody do this. Or, you know, they called me back. This company actually called me to follow up and make sure I was happy with what I had. Or there are a lot of wow opportunities in the value creation, value demonstration component. I remember Enterprise Rent-A-Car. You know, I rented a car for a weekend. I got a call like 14 days afterward. It was like clockwork. It was on time. I could tell the call was systematized. They had a great survey that they did with me. And then they prompted for additional recommendations, advanced recommendations on other weekend packages that they've had. And so they're maintaining a relationship with me. What they did, though, was they helped me see that what I expected from them when I went through that value detection definition process, I actually got. And this is very important, is the trick here for value demonstration is to connect what you actually do to what you expected to do. Whatever expectations you set, we need to make sure actual is better than expected. If actual is always better than expected, then you're always in great shape in leading the field on great service experiences. So as you look at your back office deliveries, there's a number of things to look at. Number one, what are the key impact points? What are the key processes that really define how you brand yourself with the customer? How are you operating in the customer service dimension in terms of complaints? What are the comebacks when somebody has a challenge and they're potentially having a hazard? They've decided to do business with you. How do we make sure that they're in great shape and they're totally confident in what it is that you offer? And maybe you take those 5, maybe those specific concerns that those customers have, and you design an approach, a comeback, a second chance, a relief valve, a way for them to dump their complaint, their headaches. It also means that in the value demonstration component, it means that you have to cleanse the weeds from the garden. You're going to demonstrate your value here, and you'll find that there are opportunities that you found in the value definition and the value detection phases, but you somehow let them go through the toll booth and you didn't bounce them at the door, and now it's up to your back office to start experiencing these headaches, but yet they can't get rid of them. And it's very important to make sure that the right opportunities get into value demonstration, because if we're watering weeds and we have the wrong relationships, then those wrong relationships may, 1, never be happy with you, 2, a bad referral is twice as powerful as a great referral, and 3, you're going to put your staff through a bunch of headaches emphasizing the message that your customer is more important than your staff. And when your customer is more important than your staff, it trickles down. Your staff will end up creating attitudes, not doing their best work, not demonstrating the fullness of their potential. So we want to make sure that we fire dud clients and make sure we clarify who's acceptable and who's not, and where that fine line is. So we want to keep value demonstration pointed in the right domain. We want to demonstrate that to the very best opportunities. And we want to make sure that the actual is always better than what you set in expectations in value detection and definition. We also want to make sure that all customer service and follow-up processes are in place at regular intervals with great content, and that all the appropriate verbal and written components are orchestrated and conducted in an unusual way. Not so much that you pay all of your margins into service, because there can be an excessive amount of service, but you pay just the right amount of service, the relevant amount of service, understanding what your client's needs are. And this is where you can get very creative, because the more you surprise your clients in the service dimension, the more it appears that it is inconvenient to you. And the more inconvenience that you can help your clients see to you, the more they feel like a priority, and the more they'll tend to walk the earth thinking you're a god. So we want to make sure that they get the very, very best value. And this is where businesses fall down, is they do great on the front end, they do great foreplay, but when they get into the big deal, when they get into really delivering, it's all smoke and mirrors. They actually don't follow up. So you as an entrepreneur, you must align the inside reality with the outside perception. And this is where we integrate. The integration process begins with back office really understanding how to support front office. What has front office done and said when they're out on the stage that calibrates, that aligns the back office processes, right? What is that outside perception that we are demonstrating in that front end, and how does it affect our back, our internal processes? It also requires that everyone has a consciousness about how important they are in the overall message that it sends to the customer. That back office is not any less important than front office. Everyone is important in demonstrating great value to the customer. Equally important as marketers in demonstrating and positioning the customer, what the customer sees. And this demonstration is absolutely a critical component, because in today's markets there's so many options out there. These customers don't want to put up with anything less than great. They want to know that what they're getting is best in the world. I mean, would you ever want a doctor to be anything less than best in the world in their operating deliverable? When they're operating on you, would you want to know they're anything less than best in the world? No. You've got to be best in the world. Now, what rarely companies do, and this is where they miss, is they don't practice enough in this dimension. They don't get together and talk about and brainstorm, innovate new ways, new unusual ways of servicing customers. And this is where your team can get great leadership from you, and this is where you can begin to hand off all kinds of great components. Now, let's say that in this transition, your team is finding that the customer is still seeking you out. Set up a boomerang system with that team member so that they help the customer instill that sense of confidence in that whatever they give them, that team member, it'll just go back to them anyway. It would go through you and it would get right back to them, so they can immediately address the issue by putting that customer at ease and saying, if it goes to him, if it goes to Joe Dokes or Mr. President, he's just going to rebound it right back to me anyway, so let's just get right to it. It also demands that you educate your clients and customers on who's going to be handling what. And you can do that through a number of touch points. You can do that through informational letters, newsletters where your team puts together writing and workups so that they demonstrate their wisdom in those points of contact. And you can do that by just directly educating your customers and transferring them over to who's who in your organization. clarifying the org chart and who the specialists are that handle those particular items. Okay, now let's get to number 4. Number 4 is very, very exciting. Number 4 is what I call value perpetuation. So if you could imagine a show, this is the 4th scene in the act. Let's say it's a 1-act show and there's 4 scenes. And this is the 4th scene that we have the new customer as they're going through this sort of milestone set of becoming more loyal. It's like a loyalty ladder, and they're moving up the ring of a ladder. And if they get to step number 4, now you have the opportunity to really put the cap on the bottle. And this is value perpetuation. And this is where a lot of companies don't take advantage of some of their best opportunities. And here is where you can add on new capabilities. You can bring it to the attention of your current audiences. You can provide extraordinary education in helping your customers become raving fans who understand what you do. You can help prompt for referrals, frame referrals with them so they understand the exact kind of opportunities, like a sniper sharpshooter, helping them identify exactly who you're looking for. The perpetuation experience is how you set up all of your drip systems, like a drip where you drip on and continue the process of adding increasing value, of increasing attention, and you automate this in a way where the customer feels very important, but at the same time, you're doing it in a way where it's not interfering with everything else, because all 4 components in Ensemble are necessary. And if perpetuation requires so much human involvement, then we can't demonstrate all the appropriate attention in value demonstration, value definition, and value detection. So perpetuation involves all the ongoing structures that go into this process. You may have 4, maybe 5 key structures that you have in place. Maybe you have a birthday reminder system. Maybe you have a specific call program where you call every 90 days. Maybe you have several touches in a year where you touch them with a new capability or service that they don't know about yet. Maybe you're doing account reviews with them, or maybe you're just sending them surprise thank yous, or maybe you're just calling them up to appreciate them and tell them how great they are. In client perpetuation, value perpetuation, oftentimes what I see is a lot of what are called bucket strategies go on. And bucket strategies is where we start to segment out the client base and come up with different strategic approaches to those segments. For example, maybe you have a group of inactive clients that haven't been involved with you in 90 days to 6 months. What are you going to do toward those inactive clients? Could they become a re-up? Could they reactivate again? Could they become a source of referrals? What are you going to do with them? And then maybe you have in the perpetuation piece, maybe you have an ongoing set of spheres of influence. Maybe you have some strategic partners that you want to continue to court and encourage and joint venture with. You want to team up with them, and so they become a source, a bucket where you can create more value, create more opportunity. And maybe you have your ongoing current clients, and maybe they're segmented by type of industry. So maybe you bucket them according to commercial or residential if you're a contractor, for example, or a realtor. Or maybe you bucket them according to your prospects. Maybe you have a group that's just come in, they've only bought once, and they haven't bought anything else, and now you want to establish a strategy with those first-time buyers. And maybe you have other buyers that are your more long-range, more of your ongoing accounts and customers, and you have a certain approach there. So really it's not about having a one-size-fits-all perpetuation process. It's about bucketing out who is who in that group, segmenting them out, and then defining some specific processes, some specific unique processes that you can help go after those groups with. Another group that you may have are just a bunch of associated opportunities. People that have heard about you, they've gotten your business card, you've stayed in touch with them. They're like chipmunks. They chisel a little bit, maybe throw you a bone here and there. And so what you may want to do is essentially bucket your database out. The idea here, though, is to come up with a group of raving fans. If we were to talk about what's the finish line, well, the finish line is to come up with a really attractive group, let's say 300 raving fans that know how to refer you, where to refer you, why to refer you, when to refer you, and you've put in the legwork, all the communication systems that go into that process. Maybe you have a technology to do that with. Maybe you have a specific personalized system that you can do that with. Maybe you have a greeting card business that can do that. Maybe you have another business. Maybe you have another business that you own, or maybe an outsourcing solution that can take on all those perpetuation components and come up with a game plan and then facilitate and fulfill that game plan. Maybe you have a whole new set of capabilities, a whole new product line. Maybe you have a whole new upsell and add-on advantage. that you can go after with these perpetuation people. Again, there's opportunities all over the place, and your role as a business choreographer is to outfit and equip the value perpetuation program. So what occurs then? I mean, once we get through this exponential value cycle where we detect and we define and we create and demonstrate, and then we fulfill, and then we, of course, perpetuate this, it puts you in a position that's different than just being a person who provides products and services. What it requires you to do is to hold a 40,000-foot mindfulness, a consciousness that there really is a series of touch points, a series of exposure points that are going to, at the end of the line, almost file a sensory input experience in the mind of that customer. And you, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you are the choreographer who wows that person in that seat. Now, let me go back to wow, because I didn't explain what when or what means. When or what means that the response, the attitude of that relationship says this, or actually asks this: what do you want me to do, and when do you want me there? When you have a relationship with someone and they respond to you with those two things, what do you want me to do, or when do you want me there? What they're saying to you is, you are indispensable to my happiness. You see, in the value detection phase, when a person is evaluating whether you're the solution, or in the value definition phase, if they're wondering whether they can take action within the risk considerations, maybe you have a specific price and you're helping them overcome that, you're reassuring them, providing them examples, making sure that they believe you because you've been able to demonstrate that kind of work. And as you're doing that, the question they're asking is, should I trust this person? Does this match the kind of capabilities I need? Does this help me reach my future? They have a whole nother set of questions. Is this the right thing? Will this turn out? How much hope does this establish for me? Does this help me eliminate my losses? But you've done your work. When you've reached a raving fan, when a person has, by virtue of your demonstration and your work and your intervention, you've helped a person reach a raving fan attitude, you will know because you've created wow. And the signature of wow is, what do you want me to do, and when do you want me to be there? I'll tell you an example. I was doing a number of guest evenings, and I was presenting some great content for prospective coaching clients. So I invited two of my wow clients. And of course, the two questions they asked me are, what do you want me to do, and when do you want me to be there? What do you want me to do? I said, well, I want you to get up and present a great power-punched 2-minute testimonial about, what capabilities you've been able to gain, what kind of results, deliveries, what kind of experience you've had with coaching. And then they said, when do you want me to be there? And I said, well, be there right on time, right at the beginning, so you can meet and greet and meal with the potential clients. They said, right away, JD, no problem. I mean, it was like I was in total command, that they put me in a position of command, and they trusted me to tell them what to do. When you're in a position of telling another what to do, they have entrusted their livelihood. They have been willing to set aside the risk of what might turn out, and they're willing to trust in what you have demonstrated with them. And that is, it makes you inseparable. So imagine having 300 people that do wow. What do you want me to do? When do you want it there? Well, I want you to give me a referral. When do you want that referral? I'd love that within 7 days. I mean, can you imagine the capability that you would have? Can you imagine the confidence and the kind of power in terms of what you are capable of creating? Just imagine that. So wow is what the exponential value cycle is really about, is there is a finish line, and that is that you are experiencing a wow attitude with people. What do you want me to do, and when do you want me there? Now, what we do here is we bring these four together in Ensemble. Like I was saying, we are putting all these together on the same page. Okay? And that means that you have a consciousness that, almost like a memo from the value definition, or the value detection, value definition, value demonstration, and value perpetuation, what you're doing is you're calibrating all of the important sequential components from the beginning to the end in terms of people and process and workflows. What you're doing is you're like a conductor bringing together a symphony, so that so one department of the symphony, the strings understand where the violins are supposed to play, and the violins understand where the drummers and the percussion components are supposed to play. We understand the roles and responsibilities of each of these. And this means you articulate position descriptions that support and embody and reinforce this sequence, these four scenes. You also have all of your testing going on in all of these areas. You have value detection testing, you have value definition testing. You try stuff out, see if it works, get out of it before it hurts you, stay with it if it works, keep going, finesse it. You take all your customer service processes. So what we're constantly doing is we're turning over stuff that's working and not working till we get to a point where the response is, this is so valuable and unique. This is so extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this before. And you know that's a portal to wow. So once they get to wow, it's this person does something I've never seen before. It's so significant to me. It's crucial to my future. And therefore, I'm going to respond with, what do you want me to do and when do you want me there? So these are the 4 components of the value, the exponential value cycle. And the whole underlying course here is to integrate internal and external, to integrate the back and the front so that you have a show-stopping performance when the public comes into the theater and watches your show. All the back office components, they see themselves as a vital aspect to delivering that front stage because they know if they deliver that, that's how we all get paid. We get paid for the value that we create. There's no entitlement on that stage. We get paid for the value that we contribute. And we all see our difference that we're making in the front stage performance. It's really your call to make sure that both of those components are connected by first leading great front stage, but also demonstrating the same level of skill, attitude, and leadership in the back as well.